Hello everybody, it's Kiki. Welcome back, and welcome to the January wrap-up. We're just going to talk about all of the media, mostly books, that I did consume in the month of January. And I consumed some good media, I'll tell you that. I read some really good books. So let's just go ahead and get into it. We will start with books, of course. I did read 10 books in January, and I had an average rating of 4 stars. Unheard of. That is genuinely so good. I think last year I pretty much was in that 3.5 to 3.75 range. So starting out the new year with a 4-star average, very good. Very good. Especially considering I only read one book that was below a 3-star. Like, I had a pretty good reading month. So let's just go ahead and get into the list, everything that I read. The first book, that is Blood Beneath the Snow. Now, this is the first book in a fantasy, romantasy, I should say, duology, and we're following our main character, who is a princess, and in this world, there are the God-Touched, the God-Forsaken. God-Touched have magic, they have powers. God-Forsaken do not, obviously. There's some tension, some class divide, some just cruelty kind of wound up in all of that, and all that, that belief, you know? And to top it off, we are also at war with another country, so tensions are very high. And our princess, of course, is a God-Forsaken. She has no power, which is not great in this world in general, but especially if you are a princess where you have to compete in trials against your very powerful brothers for the throne, and you have to fight to the death. Yeah, not having powers might be a problem, you know what I'm saying? And to top it off, she gets kidnapped by who? None other than the enemy kingdom's general. And that's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say. I ate this book up, okay? 4.5 stars, almost a 5. There were just like a couple of things that kept it from being a 5-star for me, but I had a great time reading this. Great start to the year, honestly. I'm very, very excited to dive into the sequel very soon. Comes out in February. Can't wait. And I think that this book had a really good mix of like the actual fantasy and plot with the romance, and where we left off in the romance department and the fantasy and plot department as well, but especially the romance. Like, the tension next book is going to be so good. So good. But I really liked the balance, you know? I feel like especially recently, we've seen a lot of romantasy books where it's very obvious that it's romance set in a fantasy world, and the only reason you're in this fantasy world is to drive the romance, that this romance would have worked almost the exact same way anywhere else. And that's not what I love. Like, I like it sometimes. It has its time and its place. But for the most part, I like an equal parts fantasy and romance. Sometimes I even like, most times actually, I like more fantasy and a subplot of romance. That's my like bread and butter. That is what I enjoy. So I definitely love it when a story really focuses on the actual plot and fantasy aspects just as much, if not more, than the romance. And I think this had a really, really great balance of all of those things. So very much enjoyed this one. Our next book was one that I was very much anticipating, and that is Revolve. This is the 3rd book in the Off the Ice series. First one being Collide, second one being Spiral. I loved Collide and Spiral. I gave each of those like a 4.5 and 5-star respectively. I was very, very excited about this one, and I did end up giving it a 4-star. I really liked it. It was my least favorite in the series, but that, again, not to say that I didn't love it, because I definitely did. My only like qualm with the story is I just wish we had a little bit more build up in the romance department, a little bit more tension, and it didn't like happen fast or anything, you know. We weren't having feelings at page 50. I think the time when the romance started in the book was the time to start it. I just wish before that we had a little bit more build up to it, if that makes sense. But I did really, really have a good time with this, and I did think that the romance was cute, both before and after they got together, but especially after. I had a really good time with this one. It was really cute, and I'm very, very excited for the 4th and final book in this series that comes out later this year, because it is my favorite character's story. So very excited. I love this series. Very highly rated in my opinion. I know Hockey Romance with Heated Rivalry coming out is having a big moment right now. Let me present this to you, because I love it. I love it. The next book I read is one that I really, really enjoyed, and that is Ladies in Hating. This follows two girls who are both Gothic novelists. It's a Sapphic Regency romance, and it's so good. These ladies are rivals because, due to some reasons that I'm not going to tell you, I think you should figure out on your own, they keep having some similarities in their texts. Why? Read and find out. And due to things and stuff, they end up, in preparation for their newest novels, respectively, they end up being trapped together in a, like, old, decrepit, crumbling Gothic estate. Yeah. As someone who is a big lover of Gothic literature in general, but especially classic Gothic literature, having this story where our two main characters are both Gothic novelists who are writing Gothic novels and simultaneously having, like, Gothic-esque stuff happen around them. Yeah, sign me up. It was so cute. It was so good. I loved everything about this story. I really adored it. I also just found out that it is the third book in a historical romance interconnected series, so I am going to be going back and reading the other two books, especially because I think the first one in the series follows one character that's relatively prominent in this, so very excited about all of those. I gave this a 4-star. I feel like I should have given it a 4.5, honestly, because, like, I have nothing but fond memories looking back on this book. Very good. Had a grand time with this one. The next book that I read was Brimstone. This is the sequel to Quicksilver. I read Quicksilver about a year and a half to 2 years ago, and I really enjoyed it. I know it's a pretty polarizing book. I know not everybody has a similar opinion to me, but I had a good time with it. I think I gave it like a 4-star. I read it in like one day, and that was a chunky book. I just had a good time with it. I couldn't put it down. But I'm also someone who loves fantasy so much and has since I was a very young little child. Since I was very little, I have loved fantasy. It's been my favorite genre. So I'm someone who doesn't mind to have like 600 pages of just fantasy stuff happening. That's what I enjoy. Or going and having some meat and like some bread. Yeah, we're having conversations around some stew. Heck yeah, we are. Like, I love that. I love that vibe. So I don't mind when a lot is not happening. I know that was like a complaint in the first one. I think in this one it's a little more prominent in the sense that, like, stuff definitely happened. I'm looking back, I'm thinking back on what I read, and I'm like, yeah, this happened to further the plot, so did this and this and this. But when I'm actually reading the story, it's kind of just like that day-to-day stuff. And, like, I enjoyed it. I did think we should have kind of, like, maybe progressed the plot a little bit, but overall, I really had a great time with this. It's kind of just one of those stories where, like, so much happened, but also nothing happened. If that makes sense at all. Like, I don't know. I had a good time with it. I will say it did take me a little bit to acclimate. You know the word I'm trying to say. It took me a little bit to get used to being back in this world because I kind of had to relearn some of the side characters and kind of had to really think hard about where we are and why we're here. And I do definitely think that is because I read Quicksilver a little bit ago, plus I read it so fast. So it did take me like 50-ish pages to adjust, but I had a good time overall. I gave this a 3.75. Really enjoyed it. I don't think I liked it as much as the first one, but I do think it did a really good job of continuing the story, and I will be reading the third one when it comes out. So next we're getting into my lowest rated read of the month, and that is Tell Me Softly. So this one I gave it 2.75, and I just have to say, that is totally my fault. You know, I would have never picked this book up had I known some of the stuff that happens in it. And by that I mean, I don't read book synopses. I don't read the back of books. I like to go in blind. I want to have some tidbit of information, maybe a tagline, or someone tells me, oh, you'll like this because you liked this in this book, or something like that. Like, I need something to hook me, to get me interested in the book, and then that's all. I want to be surprised by everything. Like, page 50, yeah, that thing that happened, shocker to me, even though it was on the first line of the book synopsis. And that's just because that's how I like to read. Like, I don't like to be anticipating things that I know are going to happen. I just like to be surprised at every turn. And 9 times out of 10, that works for me. This time it did not. So basically, I don't even know why I was in the mood for this. I probably saw like an edit on TikTok or something, but I was just really craving a story where we followed childhood friends who are now like grown up and in a love triangle. That was what I wanted, you know? I have the controversial opinion, the unpopular opinion of liking a love triangle. I think love triangles can be so good. They just have to be done correctly, and they so sadly are never done right. It is very rare that a love triangle is done in a good, proper way, okay? But when they're done good, they're one of my favorite tropes. I love a love triangle. I really do. I know, unpopular opinion. But what I don't love in a love triangle is when the love triangle is between family members. So in this case, they are brothers. The only time that's worked for me is in The Summer I Turned Pretty, and really my biggest issue with that show is that they are brothers, so it didn't even work that great then. And the book, I read the book too. That's a side tangent. I don't love triangles between family members, especially if they're brothers or sisters or anything. Like, I don't want you to be related. No, that just is not fun for me. That's not fun. Now I'm thinking about all of the tension in the family. I can't do that. So that was strike 1. Strike 2 is this is set in high school. Now, I don't know if it's considered YA or not, but it is set in high school. I don't need that in my life. I don't need this high school drama in my life. I'm an adult. And I'm not knocking on YA. I mean, you can see I have YA fantasy. That's the Cool Prince series right there. That's YA. I love a YA fantasy series. But I just don't like reading like contemporary YA. I don't want to know about your high school drama. I lived it 10 years ago. Less than that. I'm not that old. But, you know, I was there. I was there. I've done it. I don't need to do it again. I will say, the me 10 years ago, though, would have eaten this up. She would have. This was exactly the angst that, like, little, like, you know, 15-year-old me would have obsessed with and actively sought out. So, just so you know, just so you're aware. But the me now, not down for a high school romance. And then Third Strike, right? Third Strike, we're out. It's kind of like a bully romance in a way. Our main female character and one of the love interests, something happened when they were children, and he blames her for that, even though it's like, it is a serious thing, especially what you find out at the end of the book, what's revealed. I get why he has the emotions that he has, but he is a 20-year-old man, and I'm sorry, you can't look at the situation and see that, this child that I'm blaming all of this on didn't actually deserve that blame and didn't do anything wrong because she's a child, you know? So he treats her viciously, very cruelly because of this thing that happened when they were a kid. And I'm just not down for that vibe. No hate to anyone who loves a bully romance, but it's just not for me. It's just not what I like. And that was in here. And maybe I could have dealt with one of these things, but all of these things together just really made it this Mod Podge of not for me, just not stuff that I like. So I did give it a 2.75. This is more like a 2-star book for me, but I did give it the 0.75 because I think like it did what it needed to do for its genre, and I don't necessarily think that it was like bad as a book, and I didn't have qualms with it. It's because it was my fault, you know? I don't like those things, and if I'd known that they had any one of them, but especially all 3, I would have never read this. This is my fault. I'm not going to let the book suffer in the rating because it's objectively just not for me. I can recognize that. I'm giving these ratings based on opinion and not literary merit, so you know, they're all to be taken with a grain of salt, but like I felt guilty giving it a 2-star because it's so not the book's fault. It is my fault. So that is why it got a 2.75 rating instead of a 2. Switching up the vibe completely though, my only 5-star rating, my only fiction 5-star rating of January, The Wolf King. The Wolf King. I read this book and I ate up every word. I was staying up till like 2 or 3 a.m. reading this because I could not put it down, okay? I loved this book so much. I ate it up. Yeah, I originally gave it a 4.5 and then I just could not stop thinking about it. I was having dreams about reading the sequel. I obviously had to change it to a 5, and I definitely think that was the right move. I know it's only January, but I could foresee this being on my top books of the year at the end. I really loved this, which is so surprising because I'm not a werewolf girly. I do not like werewolf media. I never have. I used to be big in the fan fiction world. I still am a little bit. I still dabble, but I used to be like reading fan fiction every single night, and Omegaverse was a big thing then, and I didn't care if I had read every other fan fiction in that fandom. I was never picking up an Omegaverse. I didn't want it. I didn't need it. I actively avoided it. It took me months to read Bride by Ali Hazelwood despite being her #1 girly because it was werewolves. I just am so not my vibe. Again, no hate. Love that if you love werewolves. I love watching werewolf stuff. Like, give me a good paranormal romance. I'm here all the time. Vampire Diaries, Twilight, you know, I love it. I just didn't want to read about it. But I'm glad I did because 5 stars. So good. So good. I loved this book so much. Truly, I had a great time reading it, okay? Also, this is like a proper like fantasy book, you know? Book series, I should say. We're building up to something. I'm reading book 2 right now, actually. And we're building up more stuff. It's good. It's like a proper fantasy series. We have this good overarching plot, and it's not just like romance, which I enjoy. Again, going back to what I said earlier, I like when we have a good mix of the romance and the actual plot. I do think this one's a little itty bitty bit more romance heavy, or at least the first book, but not a lot, really, not a lot. Maybe I should actually tell you what this book is about if you don't know, because I know this is making its rounds right now, and it's deserved, okay? It's deserved. But basically, we are following a human princess, and we're in a world where we are split in the north and the south. The south is where the humans live, the north is where the wolves live, and they are at war. They are at odds. So, human princess, she ends up getting kidnapped, quote, kidnapped, because she doesn't actually get kidnapped. She goes with him willingly and for her own reasons. But she ends up getting, you know, kidnapped by an alpha from the north, and she goes with him. And political stuff ensues. They are at the castle awaiting the Wolf King for more political shenanigans. And in this world, the wolves are very Scottish coded. There's a lot of Scottish words in there, and they are in clans, and they like wear kilts and stuff. There's a lot of locks. Called her like a Bonnie Lass or something. So very Scottish coded. And each clan has a different alpha, and they are all united over the Wolf King. And they're fighting this war with the humans, but there's also like tensions in the wolf world too. I'm blushing right now. I loved this book. So we're just gonna move on. 5 stars. Let's go to the next one. The next book I read was Alchemy of Secrets by Stephanie Garber. I was really, really excited about this because I love the Caraval world, and one of my favorite things about Stephanie Garber's writing is just like her magic and whimsy. She really has a way of making things feel magical through her words when you're reading, and I don't just mean like the world building and the world feel magical, just like, I don't know, like her words are just magic, if that makes sense. And I was really interested to see how that was going to translate to Alchemy of Secrets, because not only is this her first adult debut, it's also her first not set in like a completely fantasy world. Of course there are fantastical elements in here, but it is primarily set, it's not primarily, it's completely set in the real world, set in Los Angeles. So I was very interested to see how that translate, And if anything, I think this is even more magical because it really gives a sense of magic and wonder and whimsy to like everyday things that you experience. So it translated really well. Very, very much enjoyed this one. It is her adult debut, and I mean, it is adult, right? But I definitely think it does skew a little YA. I think it is perfectly acceptable for YA audiences. So I'm very curious to see if she might do more adult titles and if she's going to get out of that and into more like, you know, adult endeavors. I don't even know what I'm talking about, to be honest. I don't mean like, I think that makes it sound like I mean like spicy romance and stuff. That's not what I mean. This just felt YA, and some of like the way things were working out and stuff is what I'm getting at. Anyways, from page like 50 to 250, I could not put this book down. I was having a grand time with it. It was so well paced, and there's like mystery elements that you were really trying to figure out. Had a really great time reading it. It wasn't until the ending, when things got revealed, that I was a little disappointed. It wasn't even necessarily the things that were revealed. It's kind of just, I wish we had more explanation and more time with those reveals and with some characters. I kind of just wanted a little bit more. I did end up giving it a 4 stars. I thought for most of this book that this was going to be a 5-star read until we got to the ending, but I did still really enjoy it. I had a great time with it. I didn't even tell you what it's about. Basically, we're following Holland, who is a folklore grad student, and because of circumstances that I'm not going to tell you, she has to go on the hunt for a very magical, very like sought after, is this even a real thing, object, basically. And she has a time limit because she's going to die if she doesn't find it. So very interesting, very intriguing, mythical stuff ensues. One of my favorite parts of the book were that we got POV chapters, like a POV switch of chapters from this folklore class that Holland took with this like mysterious professor character, and the classes are very interesting. In each class there was a different myth, and it was also like you had to figure out clues and stuff to even know where the class was going to meet. Very cool concept. I think that's the kind of thing that I would have eaten up if it happened to me, you know. If I could take this class, I would have loved it. So that was really fun. I really enjoyed this one, even though I did find the ending just a little itty-bitty lackluster. Speaking of things that I wanted more from, When Among Crows. This is by Veronica Roth, who wrote Divergent. My boyfriend was reading this, and he said that I would like it, so I picked it up. And we are following 3 characters, I believe in Chicago. It's modern day Chicago. It's an urban fantasy. And in modern day Chicago, and I guess by extension the rest of the world as well, there are a lot of creatures from myth and folklore and stuff. They exist, and they're doing things and stuff, and we follow 3 characters who are working together for various reasons to find Baba Yaga, who is like the witch of all witches, if you're unfamiliar. And things and stuff happen. It's a novella, so I can't really tell you more than that, but it being a novella is actually my biggest qualm with it, because I really wanted more. I really liked the world, I really liked the characters. I just needed a little bit more from everything, pretty much. Especially the ending I wanted more from, and the reveals we had, I wanted more from those. I just wanted more, you know? I think that if this was a full-length novel, so we actually had more world building and more character building, and we spent more time in particular scenes, this would have been a 5-star book. But instead, I did give it a 3 because I did really enjoy it, and I would recommend it. I think it was really fun. It was a nice little breezy little afternoon read because it is a novella. Like, it was a good book. I just wanted more from it. I needed more, you know? Like, there are certain scenes that were very interesting that I think should have spanned like 3 or 4 chapters, you know, not 1 or not even half of a chapter. I think everything was just going too fast because of its page length, and I think it definitely would have benefited greatly if it was a full-length novel. But overall, had a good time with it, and I would recommend it if you are interested. It is a series. The sequel just came out recently, so maybe these things get expanded on and improved upon as the series goes, but this, as it stands, I think just would have been a better full-length novel. And that was actually my last fiction title. I did read 2 nonfiction, and I'll just briefly talk about those. I read Dear America, Notes from an Undocumented Citizen. This is by Jose Vargas. Can talk. This is by Jose Vargas, who is a very popular journalist. You've probably read some of his stuff or seen some of his interviews, and this is mostly a memoir. We're following his life when he comes to America and kind of just navigating that through childhood and adulthood, finding out that he was here illegally as a teenager. And I thought it was very good. I gave it a 4-star. I do feel kind of weird rating nonfiction, but in terms of like giving my opinion and kind of keeping my rating like organized in my head, my thoughts organized in my head, I should say, I like to have like a rating system. So I did give it a 4 stars. I enjoyed it a lot. I think it was very informative. I think it's very important to read right now, especially. I thought it was going to be a 5-star read, but the last like third of it felt very repetitive. It felt very like just responding to people that he knows that have said things to him in private or said things publicly. And like, while I get that to an extent, it did just start feeling like repetitive. We were kind of saying the same thing, just like wrapped up in different ways, if that makes sense. But I did really enjoy it. I think it's a solid book, and I think everybody should read it. The introduction, right off the bat, phenomenal. But I definitely think the first part of the book, but the first 2/3, honestly, were the strongest. So I did enjoy it, and I think everyone should read it. My other 5-star book, this is one of the best nonfiction books I think I've ever read in my entire life, and that is Caste. This is so important, especially if you live in America. I don't even know how to talk about this book. Basically, we are looking at American slavery and the lasting impact that has had on America, and why it explains so much about the racism and stuff that is experienced currently, and even like the little things that you probably don't even think are racist. It goes into like the history behind that. It's so good. It's so good. Let me show you my notebook. I have like little thoughts on media, and just to like give context, this is what I wrote about Northanger Abbey. This is like my thoughts on media that relate to like my life, my personal life, or like the world around me. This is what I wrote about Northanger Abbey. This is what I wrote about about Caste, but not even, I stopped taking notes like 30% in. That was just like the first 30%, because after that I was too engrossed to even be taking notes. Very good. I think it's a great place to start these conversations if you're not having them, but it even gives you even more to expand upon if you are having these conversations. So please read this book. You'll look at things differently. Even if you think you know things, this is going to put them into a different perspective. Please read this book. Please read this book. Read both of the nonfiction books. If you take any recommendations from this list, let it be the 2 nonfiction. And that wraps it up for the books that I read. Now let's move on to the movies and TV shows. Spoiler, there are no TV shows. I only watched 3 movies, and the 3 movies were Twilight, New Moon, and Eclipse. I introduced my little cousins to these when I went and visited them for a long weekend in January, and it was really fun. We put them on because of the 12-year-old cousin of mine. We thought that it was time for her to watch it, and she was invested, but the real standout cousin was the 6-year-old little boy, who was even more invested. He is Team Jacob, if you're curious, because werewolves are cooler than vampires. Maybe they are, I don't know, but just giving you his take. I enjoyed rewatching these. I'm a big Twilight fan. I was a big Twilight fan back in the day. I had posters on my walls. I had the Barbie dolls. I went to a midnight showing of Breaking Dawn Part 2, I think. I was a little young. Definitely my mom took me and some of my friends for my birthday. Definitely the youngest people there. But that's okay. I had a grand time watching these. It was so fun, and it was really fun watching the people who have never seen them before see them as well. It was just really good, a really good fun time, and it really made me nostalgic for like the early 2010s paranormal stuff, and I think we're gonna explore that later this year, I know. And I kind of want to read the Twilight books now. I don't know. Like, I have actually never read them. I started the first book and just never finished it. I just didn't want to. And I actually unhauled my books because I was like, you know what, I'll never read these. And now I'm probably going to try to thrift them because I want to read them now. I want to read them. I think I can definitely see a early 2000s to early 2010 paranormal romance renaissance in my near future. So those are the movies that I watched. Obviously 5 stars for each of them. Come on now. I am very excited to read these books now and rewatch the movies again. My uncle, very invested in these. When we left, me and my sister who had visited, when we left, my aunt sent us a picture of him putting on Breaking Dawn to finish it alone because he was that invested, and I love that for him. I love that he's found his joy of Twilight. And listen to any new podcasts or music, so we're gonna skip the music category and jump right into our last category, which is creators. I love this. So I want to talk about 3 different creators that I have found in the month of January. The first 2 are Maddie Can't Stop Reading and Book of Emily. These are both TikTok pages. I think Maddie has a YouTube channel. I know she has a YouTube channel. I just started watching it. I don't know if Emily does, but I love these girls. They are so fun. I just found them like 3 days ago, so I'm having a great time going through and watching all of their videos respectively. They actually make a lot of content together because they are friends. It's actually how I found Emily, because I found Maddie first. Through her content with Emily, I found Emily as well, and I'm eating their pages up, okay? They are your go-to girls if you want any kind of romance. Let me just tell you that. I have gotten my TBR grown. I've gotten so many recommendations, and I'm very excited. And it's also a lot of stuff that I've never heard of, in addition to like reviews and stuff on some popular stuff. So there's things on here for everyone. If you are a romance girly, or if you're not and you want to get into the genre, great place to go. The other account is actually one that I did find before January, but I really started watching in January, and it's another TikTok creator, and that is Classically Claire. I love the content on this page. It's so good. It's obviously a lot of classics and literary fiction. I found Claire through classic videos. Right now, Claire is doing a Chinese zodiac video series ranking all of the Chinese zodiac signs from unluckiest to luckiest, or someone else ranked them, but she's going through them from the unluckiest to luckiest and giving book recommendations based on that. And let me just tell you, as someone who's the year of the rabbit, I'm either in first or second place in terms of luckiest, because I haven't got my book recommendation yet, and there's only 1 video left. So, not to toot my own horn, but apparently I'm very lucky. But I'm loving all of these videos. And again, if you like literary fiction or classics, great account, but I think especially if you're new, this is a really good account. So that is everything that I consumed in the month of January. Let me know what your favorite reads are, what you're excited to read for the rest of the year. Give me some movie recommendations, because the fact I only watched 3, kind of crazy. And they're all from the same franchise as that. I probably, if I didn't go visit my family, wouldn't have watched a single movie in the month of January, which is like baffling. So please do drop the movie recommendations, and also drop, speaking of the movies I watched, give me some good early 2000s to early 2010s paranormal romance books, because I'm about to eat them all up, okay? Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you. I hope you have a great day.